Swamiji, Yalamanchi and friends. There's one small correction I would like to make on what Yalamanchi said. He said that Indira Gandhi was the only man in the cabinet. Now that's a gender bias that you have reflected. It's also not according to our scriptures, because all the tough people in our civilization were women. When the male gods failed to kill the asuras, they had to go to Durga, and she had to come in the form of Kali. Similarly, the Mahabharata war would never have been declared but for the tenacity of Draupadi, who said, I will not tear not my hair and I will not let go. Ramayana, the killing of Ravan took place only because of Sita's determination. Hanuman came and offered to take her on her back and escape. She said, no, it's not a question of me. It's a question of all the women who have been enslaved by Ravan. So therefore Ram must come and finish him off. I can go on giving you examples. Today, the latest Time magazine lists Rani of Jhansi, the most, one of the 10 most valorous, strong women of the century. 1857, she valiantly led the battle with a child in her hand. So I think you should correct this gender bias. You should say Swami is the only woman in the world. By the way, all the competitive exams, the first, second and third rank is now taken by women. So men will have to go to the kitchen and women will go to the office. Well, I know the food will be terrible. I'm supposed to speak to you today about corruption being a disease and the cure for it. And it's my thesis which I'm speaking in India, which irritates a lot of secular people, that corruption is the cancer of our society and Hindutva is the cure for it. And this is exactly what I will explain, how corruption is the cancer and how Hindutva can cure it. First of all, let's be very clear what corruption is, because the word corruption is used quite loosely. Digvijay Singh said that Ramdev is corrupt because he takes black money. So they said, how do you know he takes black money? He says he takes it in cash. Now that's not corruption. Supposing I am a crook and I have a lot of black money in my pocket and I go take a taxi to the airport and I give the taxi money his fare in cash. Does that make the taxi driver a corrupt person because he took black money from me? The corruption only arises when a public official misuses his public office for private gain. That is corruption. All the other things that people loosely talk about as corruption can be classified under fraud, under extortion, under cheating. But the corruption, which is really the one that causes the cancer in society, is when a public official misuses his office for private gain. The other forms that we see are essentially bilateral. But corruption is in the form I have defined to you, is multidimensional. First of all, when public office is misused for private gain, it usually, and always, not usually, it always happens, that a person who cannot get something on merit approaches the person who makes the decision, namely the public official, and tells them, I'll give you so much money, you please favor me and give me the project. Manipulate the tender in such a way that I get the tender. Or in your discretion to make a decision, you decide in my favor, and I'll give you so much money. So in a sense, what's happening is that the meritorious will not get what is their due, and those who are not meritorious, by the power of money, will be able to get it. The nation therefore sub-optimizes. Instead of finding the optimum, you find the sub-optimum. The Ministry of Road advertises and calls for tender to build a road. Somebody comes and says, knowing that he cannot compete with a more established and more meritorious person, he tells the minister, I'll give you so much money if you can manipulate the tender in my favor. Find some reason to disqualify the other persons. The minister says, this money that you're offering is not enough, give me some more. So he gives them some more, gets the tender. Having got the tender, he knows now that having minus so much money given to the minister, he cannot make a profit. So what does he do? He uses substandard material to build the road, and thereby saves enough money to cover the loss of the bride. And once he builds a substandard road, then the next monsoon the road disappears.
Vanishes.
It vanishes. I know one case which really happened. There was a terrible drought in the state of Orissa. So one collector sent a proposal to the government of India that there's a terrible drought in Orissa, people don't have water, so I should be allowed to dig, I should be provided funds to dig 500 wells so that people can get water. So the government sent the money to him because it's a desirable project, and he pocketed that money and wrote on the file that I have got 500 wells dug. 2 years later he was transferred and a new collector came. And he opened the files and he saw that so many crores had been spent to build these wells. So he went on an inspection tour and he found there were no wells. So he came back and wrote another letter to the government that my predecessor did a wonderful job during the drought of constructing 500 wells. Now there is no drought, but these wells have now started having mosquitoes and all. So I should be sent a few crores to cover up all these wells because we don't need these wells anymore. So he got these crores, and then he wrote, there were 500 wells built by my predecessor. Now I have sealed them all, and there are no more any wells there. So this kind of way of misusing, and it's all public funds, which the taxpayer gives. So we have to therefore primarily focus on ensuring that a person does not misuse his public office for private gain. And this has now gone from the collector level to such a gigantic level that they say that the 2G spectrum scam is probably the biggest in the 20th and 21st century. What happened there? As Telecom Minister Raja wanted that two of his friends should get the spectrum license. The only problem with these two friends was that they were not telecom people. They were real estate. They had no experience in telecom. One was a company called Swan, another was a company called Unitech. They are both real estate companies. But Raja was determined that these two companies will get for that purpose. The first thing he said is that for spectrum, all applications must be made before 1st October 2007. Now, in 2001, when this process of licensing started, we had only 40 million mobile telephones. In 2008, when this spectrum was given, 2G spectrum, it was 700 million cell phones. Such was the market, grown. Most people don't know what is the difference between 1G, 2G, 3G. Even the Prime Minister did not know. Because I asked him, do you know what 2G is? He said, yes, Sonia Ji and Rahul Ji. G stands for generation. The first generation is the cordless, where only your voice goes in a wave, but long waves, long cycles. Then 2G, not only your voice goes, but email also goes, SMS also goes, MMS also goes. Even pictures go. And they are shorter cycles. The third generation, 3G, your video of speaking will go, and the video of the person who is speaking, who will pick up the phone, it will also come to you. So that's the 3G. 4G will have even more data, and there will be more cycles. So the sky has to be partitioned to see these waves of different countries, different mobile operators do not clash. And that's why the spectrum, as it's called, has to be partitioned. Normally, since it's a scarce resource, it should be auctioned. But Raja decided in auction, my friends have no chance. So I will not have an auction. I will say first come, first served. And he said, first you apply by 1st October 2007. These two friends were told you apply by 25th September. So Swan and Unitech applied on 25th September. The day the press release came out that up to 1st October you can apply. After everybody had applied, there were 42 companies with 517 applications for different parts of the country. For 3 months, Raja did nothing. Then on 10th January, he issued another press release saying that although I had said you can those who apply by 1st October 2007 and their application will be considered, now I have decided that only those who applied on 25th September or before, they will be considered. It was totally illegal. If he had said it before 1st October, no, only 25th, then understandable. But after 3 months when everything is being completed, he brought this new thing. He also said one more thing. And the press release comes out at 2:45 p.m. in the ministry website, not in the newspapers. 2:45 p.m. the press release comes out that between 3:30 and 4:30, whoever brings 1,650 crore rupees in demand draft, which is the price of the spectrum, only they will be considered. Now you tell me, at 2:45 if you are told, bring me a demand draft for 1,650 crore rupees, is it possible under Indian banking system? Even 1 crore demand draft you will not get. But he had informed some people in advance. As far as Swan and Unitech is concerned, they were sitting in the minister's room when the press release was released. And they had the demand draft already in their pocket. 1650 crores was the price of the spectrum, based on what was prevailing as the price in 2001. The price in 2008 was 10 times more. But he sold these licenses, 2 of his favorite and 7 others, including Tata's, Vodacom, Videocon, etc., etc. And 9 companies got the licenses. Now, as far as Swan Telecom is concerned and Unitech are concerned, they knew they can't run a telecom business. They're not even one tower. So what they did was, they sold it to 2 foreign companies. One was Etisalat and the other was Telenor. Surprisingly, the Home Ministry had an advisory in another context that under no circumstances Etisalat and Telenor should be allowed to do any business in India because they are a national security risk. What is the national security risk? That Etisalat was a company controlled by ISI. And its India branch was headed by a man called Shahid Balwaz, who was Dawood Ibrahim's right-hand man. And therefore they should not be allowed. Second, Telenor is a company which is maybe a Norwegian company, but it does all its business in Pakistan and Bangladesh. And its equipment is bought from the Chinese People's Army, which equipment can also be used for cyber warfare. And therefore, in a time of a war between India and China, these equipment may be used to black out all our computers in the Defense Ministry. So they should not be allowed. But Raja allowed it. So clear misuse of office in the selection of the candidate of the applications, in the price that he fixed, and the permission he gave for them to sell it. And Swan and Unitech sold it for how much? 8 times. The market price difference was 10 times. But they sold it for 8 times. Then Tata also said, why I should not sell some of my shares. But Tata had already a growing business, so it got a higher price. They sold it to Docomo of Japan for 13 times. Videocon sold. Loop, which is Ruiya's, that also sold. All of them made money. Windfall profit. Just by getting a license and selling it to the shares to somebody else. Had we auctioned the 2G spectrum, the nation would have got 10 times more. And that works out to 1,76,000 crores more. When I gave these figures to the Supreme Court judges, one judge asked me, how many zeros is that? So I said, 11 zeros. He said, by God, I've never seen so many zeros in my life. 1,76,000 crores, $40 billion lost to the nation. That is enough to build your entire modern infrastructure of ports, of airports, of roads, and 100 brand new universities with all its modern facilitation. And it has gone into these people's pockets. Of course, these companies were very happy with Raja, so they gave him 60,000 crores in bribe of this 1,76,000 crores. But Raja knew that he can't take all 60,000 crores because there are people above him also. First of all, I was surprised to learn later that there was a cabinet decision that the price of spectrum will not be decided by Raja alone as Minister of Telecom, but he has to decide jointly with the then Minister of Finance, Chidambaram. And I've got a document showing both of them have signed for 2,000 crores. Raja also did not allow Swan and Unitech to sell to Etisalat and Telenor on his own. He has himself written a file note that I was encouraged to do so by Chidambaram. So if Raja is inside jail, why should Chidambaram be outside? So I filed a petition asking the Supreme Court, please make him also an accused. Ask the CBI to investigate him. The court heard me and said, we want to hear what the CBI has to say about this. They wanted to fix a date in July, but I was at Harvard, so I said, can it be in August? They gave me August 24th. After that, Chidambaram will have to go to Tihar. Nowadays it's called Club Tihar. They are now preparing masala dosa and all that. Italians there. All them also get ready for pizza very soon.
Very good, very good. When can we see that?
Wait, don't be in a hurry. 1857 was blown because Mangal Pandey wanted to be in a hurry. No hurry. It's all halal process. So, they are secular people, so I have to do halal. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that 24th August, this matter will be argued. And in an earlier application, Aircel, headed by Shivshakaran, got the license. Having got the license, now Maran said sell it to Ananda Krishna of Malaysia, a son of a Sri Lankan plantation worker immigrant in Malaysia, who has done by all kinds of dealing, become a very rich man. He is also a person who laundered the money for LTT, all established banks. And Dayalingadan forced Shivshankaran by denying him this, denying him that, all documented now by the Shivraj Patil, Justice Shivraj Patil Committee, and made him sell it to that. So therefore I also raised that. Now Maran has lost his ministership. I expect in 2 weeks' time he will also be in Club Tihar. So how did Raja distribute the money? 3,000 crores only for himself of the 60,000. 5,000 crores to Chidambaram. Then Pranali got 16,000 crores. Should get more, he has 3 wives after all. So that makes it 5 plus 13 plus 16, almost 30. And the remaining 30 went to Sonia Gandhi. So ultimately the trail leads to her. So when I asked for sanction of the Prime Minister, which it is required under the Prevention of Corruption Act, he did not reply to me. So I sent him a reminder, sent him 5 letters with more and more material. Finally I knew that how can he give sanction when he had to take the sanction of Sonia Gandhi first in order to give me sanction. So I went to the Supreme Court. And under our Constitution, if the government fails to perform its statutory duty, then the Supreme Court can step in and perform that duty. Today they are complaining, oh, Supreme Court is interfering in the executive actions. No, you didn't perform your executive action. Then the court is empowered under the Constitution to intervene. But the court was quite angry that he didn't reply to my letters. And my letters were there before the judges. They saw how much substance there was. So they, for the first time in the history of the world, not only India, a Prime Minister was asked to file an affidavit as to why he did not reply to my letters. When a court asks somebody to file an affidavit, it means that I don't trust your word. You better put it in writing and swear you're telling the truth. Otherwise, and if you fall the swear to falsehood, it's perjury. So, Prime Minister being doubted by the Supreme Court. There was a clamor that he should resign. But I said, no, he should not resign. Why? Because who will come in his place? The selection will be done by Sonia Gandhi, who I consider as Vishkanya, Taraka. Who will she select? This Prime Minister is a boneless wonder, no doubt about that. But he has not personally taken any money. After him will come another boneless wonder, but he would have taken money also. No improvement. So I opposed his going. There was a lot of misunderstanding in people why I am protecting him. I'm just telling you, we should look at the big picture. We have to get to the root of this corruption and all those guilty have to be sent. Why am I so keen on this? Because number one, 2G is a lot of money. You can't have a single politician having 3,000, 5,000, 16,000, 30,000 crores. What happens to this money? We are supposed to have not less than $500 billion in bank accounts abroad, and maybe even $1.5 trillion. People's estimates vary from half to 1.5. It's a huge amount of money. It's a nation's wealth has gone out. Some of it stays in India, and it plays havoc with your economic system. What do you do with black money? You can't build, you can't invest, you'll be caught by the income tax. So you spend it. Lavish weddings, air conditioner in every room, including the bathroom. Even the garage will have an air conditioner. Because poor cars cannot be hot. LCD TVs in every room. Most expensive carpets. Diamonds, gold. And all these items' prices have gone up very high. So what happens? That future investors say, why should we invest in Janata cloth? We will invest in this. This is where to make money. 5-star hotels are all full in India. Economic recession or no recession. Property market bubble grows. In Bombay, you cannot get a decent apartment for 25 lakhs. So, all these things then go beyond the reach of the middle class. It's only the middle class who pay taxes, by the way, in India, because the poor don't have enough money. And the rich have chartered accountants who will write that you don't have to pay any income tax at all. Do you know that Dhirubhai Ambani didn't pay 1 rupee income tax till 1995? Even now he pays a small amount only, because everything is taken care of by chartered accountants. So the middle class, the salaried class whose money is caught at the source, that they can't evade. And all this money is being squandered. You don't need income tax at all if this $40 billion had come to our treasury. So therefore, first and foremost is that you are making optimized choices, and all kinds of lumpen elements, crooked elements with cash, they come to the top because they get the contract. So merit goes down the, down the drain. Second is that investment priorities get distorted. And in this country, in India, we have a growth rate of 9% per year, but inflation is 16%. When I teach economics at Harvard, and I say that if the supplies increase, then the price will fall. But this is new economics India has started teaching. Supply is also increasing and the price is also increasing. Because This money also is used for hoarding. Food grains, salt, sugar, oil, all these when before coming to market are intercepted in the name of forward trading. Then they're put in the go down, and then the market goes up, and they sell it. Our stock market is also rigged now, thanks to black money. Because we have a participatory note created by Mr. Chidambaram, which you can get abroad in Fidelity Investments or Morgan Stanley. Just go and put cash there. They'll give you a piece of paper with only the amount written. Nothing else will be written on it. And you bring it to India and you invest in the stock market as if you got rupee, legal currency with you. And immediately the stock market goes up, sell it, and with that money that you get in rupees from the stock market, you go to the Reserve Bank and say, I bought all this with this participating note, so kindly convert it all back to dollars immediately. And under the law created by Mr. Chidambaram, the Reserve Bank has to get it, direct the banks to convert it. Of course, there is a problem of capital gains tax, that also can be avoided. You go to Mauritius, create a $1 company, and if Mauritius company invests in your stock market, then zero is the capital gains tax. We pay 25% as citizens, but Mauritius, zero. Poor little Mauritius. They are today the biggest provider of foreign investment to India, more than United States. They are providing 3 times as much foreign investment to India as the United States. What has Mauritius got? Except lovely beaches and gambling casinos. So how is it giving so much foreign investment? Because our money is going out. And how does it go out? Through Hawala agents. Who are these Hawala agents? Most of them are ISI agents. They work through Dubai. Or they are Dawood's people. And they know who is now having illegal bank accounts abroad. You become blackmailer. So therefore, we have a situation where your entire economy is being present. You mentioned about gold plating of Tirupati. Tirupati was taken over by the government in 1933. And suddenly, the chairman of the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam Board, Government of India Board, was a man called Adi Kesavalu, whose business was liquor. Imagine, for managing the finances of Tirupati, the government appointed a liquor merchant. And he comes up with this idea that I am going to gold plate the walls of Tirupati, Tirumala, sanctum sanctorum. And he makes a lot of drama and all that, collects gold galore. The whole idea was to collect gold, put some of it in the temple and then keep the rest. So the Agama Shastris who are affiliated with Tirupati, they came to me, said this is the proposal will be done for. So I went and filed a writ petition in the Andhra Pradesh High Court, saying that Tirupati is a religious temple. Under the law, government can appoint a board to manage the finances because there has been mismanaged. Even on that, I have got another court case pending which will start on 26th August, that if a government takes over a temple for financial mismanagement, then it must correct that mismanagement and return back the temple after 3 years. They cannot keep on having it. Not the job of the government to run it. But here I say it is not financial management. This is your interfering with the structure of the temple itself. I said they are going to cover gold, the walls, and the walls are full of epigraphs, you see. How Naivedyam should be prepared, how Prasad Gandu should be prepared. Everything is written on the wall. So Mr. Adhikeshwar files an affidavit in court saying, I've taken care of that, I have videoed the entire wall and I'm putting the CD in the museum. And people who want to see this epigraph can go to the museum. So I said, why not do also the Archana and Suprabhatam, everything on CD and let everybody see in the museum. But the biggest disclosure he came when I asked, how are you going to put the gold on the walls? So he said, I'll put it on a board, all the gold sheets, and then I will drill 10,000 holes through the walls of the Tirupati Sanctum Sanctorum and hang these boards. Then the court said, this is too much. And they gave the judgment in my favor, cancelling that GO. He went to the Supreme Court, he got a thrashing there also. So now Tirupati is safe. Same way Ram Setu. They wanted to earn money on drilling a canal. You see, the secret was, first of course, the Karnanidhi thought, okay, let me break Ram Setu and then the minorities will love me. In fact, he told them, they broke Babri Masjid, I will break Ram Setu for you. So, but the real secret was that when the canal was dug, the ocean will go on depositing sand again. So every week you have to dredge the sand out. And that is a 1,000 crore rupee per year contract. And it was awarded by T.R. Balu to one of his sons through one of his wives. He also has multiple wives.
Many wives.
Yeah. And he got this contract. Then the digging of the canal will be only 11 feet. Big ships of over 30,000 tonnage cannot go through that. They will sink. So only those ships which are less than 30,000 tons can go through that canal when built. And what is percentage of these ships are of such weight today? Only 5%. 95% are in the 1 lakh ton class. So who are these people who are going to bring the 30,000 ton? All T.R. Balu's King Fishing Vessels Company, which had only 30,000 and less trawlers for catching fish. So there they defame Ram or commit blasphemy and at the same time earn money. So this corruption has gone to the state where even your heritage is going to be ruined. Your national security is ruined, your economy is ruined, and now your culture is also going to be ruined. Culture has a widespread impact, and we have to therefore fight it in a way in which nobody will ever do corruption again. People have suggested many cures. One of them is tighter laws. I have shown you by going to the Supreme Court and getting cases registered. I myself argued them, sending many people to jail. And the trial proceedings are going on very well. I hope by the end of this year, Raja will not only be put to jail on custody, but also will be convicted. Then one by one, others also will get convicted. But there is one law, one section of the Jan Lokpal bill of Anna Hazare, which I support. The bill as a whole has lots of things which, even if it's not there, it doesn't matter. But there is one thing there which does matter, and that is the appointment of an independent prosecutor, which will be the Lok Ayukt. And, or Lokpal as it's called. Lok Ayukt is in the state level, Lokpal is the central level. The Lokpal is the equivalent of what was appointed when Clinton had this affair with that Monica Lewinsky. I don't forget his name. Ken Starr. Before that there was, I think, Jaworski or somebody who was appointed during the Watergate. American laws has it. Hong Kong was a very corrupt country. But they appointed this independent prosecutor, and within 10 years they became the cleanest country in Asia. What happens is if you have an independent prosecutor, you don't have to ask permission, like I had to ask permission from Prime Minister. I won't have to ask. So therefore, this will be a short-term measure. Because we need to prosecute and convict people fast. On 8th of January 2008, there was a press conference in Hyderabad addressed by Ramalinga Raju of Satyam, in which he said that I have done fraud with my bank, with my company accounts, and I am willing to pay any price for it, suffer any punishment. Around the same time, I think the 7th of January, in New York, Bernard Madoff was addressing a press conference in New York, saying with a Ponzi scheme, I have deprived people of their pension funds, and I feel bad about it. I am ready to be prosecuted, and I am ready to suffer any punishment. Within 6 months, what did you find? Madoff was convicted for 150 years and has gone to jail. But Ramalinga Raju is still in air-conditioned hospital rooms. Nothing has happened to him. But that must go. We are fortunate that we have one demonstrated example, and that is 2G. That's because the Supreme Court took all the monitoring on itself. We have to really thank the present Chief Justice of India, Mr. Kapadia. He's a Parsi gentleman and a distinguished lawyer. Before that was Balakrishnan. Never passed through him. In fact, some of the money might have stopped with him also. So, therefore, leadership matters. Individuals matter. One Kapadia has changed the character of the Supreme Court today. So, our system, our country doesn't need people coming on the road like in Egypt or in Libya or Syria. We have institutions that can be made to work, provided you instill courage in our people. In the short run, yes, have laws, strengthen them, and tell people produce results. This entire parliament, all they did was did a walkout. They did nothing. I kept telling them, let's go to court. Nobody wanted to go to court. Because some members of the opposition also have something to hide. So they don't, Congress party doesn't mind if you just do Allah Gullah and walk out. Because you walk out, then you can pass anything you want without the opposition sitting there. So that's why I went to court. But in my opinion, those are short-term measures. Long-term measures is what I call as Hindutva measures. You see, why is there so much corruption? It is because of greed. And greed comes because your mind becomes focused on materialistic. Progress has not produced happiness. I can understand it has produced happiness. You have lots of money, you are very happy. But we find from all our ashrams in our country that the rich foreigner is coming in droves. Puttaparthi Sai Baba's ashram is full of foreigners. Sri Sri Ravishankars, Ramdevs, Swami Dayanand Saraswatis. So many foreigners coming. Some of them are even taking the extreme step, like this richest Hollywood actress, Julia Roberts. She went to India and came back and became a Hindu. She made her husband also Hindu, her children also Hindu. Why? She said, because I want mental peace, and Hinduism is the only one that offers me how to get mental peace. Same thing happened with Stephen Jobs of the iPhone. Now I'm told that Brad Pitts and Julie something, Angelina Jolie. They are also declared that they are going to become Hindus. Why? You see, I remember when I came as a student for the first time to Harvard, My classmate asked me, how can you have Mahatma Gandhi as your leader? I mean, he was asking because Mahatma Gandhi was not alive when I came as a student here. He was assassinated in 1948. So I said, why? You mean in America you cannot be leader? He said, in America, if he came, we would put him in jail for indecent exposure. Because he had only a Langoti, see, it's a plot. That made me think, how is it that I asked the American, what about your country, what should the leader look like? He said he should be very well dressed. His tie will be noticed, his shirt will be noticed, his coat will be noticed, everything will be noticed. Then I looked around and I said, all our sadhus go around in Dubai, what about the rabbi in Israel is very well dressed. The Pope is extremely well dressed. The mullahs in Iran are very, very well dressed. It's only our country that the sadhu has the Bhagwan. And our leaders have the same, those days leaders like Jayaprakash and Mahatma Gandhi and all had very, simple dressing. That's where Sanatana Dharma comes. Brigu and Bhardwaja had a debate on how to structure society so that it becomes stable. And Brigu said, unless you decentralize power in a society, it can never be stable. Concentration of power will lead to destabilization. So, he said, Bhardwaj asked, which are the sources of power? So he said, knowledge, weapons, wealth, and land. These are the four sources of power. And therefore, nobody should have more than one of this. So those who have knowledge cannot have wealth, cannot have weapons, cannot have land. And they will have social status, like Mahatma Gandhi had. And they will be called Brahmins. Those who have weapons may rule, have a kingdom, but they cannot make policy. They cannot decide when to go to war. They cannot decide what punishment to give for crimes committed. It is those with the knowledge that he has to defer to. Nowhere else in the world you have this kind of monarchy. This is not a monarchy in that sense. In other countries, the monarchy was absolute power. Those who had wealth, there was nothing wrong with having wealth. But your social status did not depend on how much wealth you had. Your social status depended on how much philanthropy you did. Like Malhotra, he's given it all up. 44 he quit. You know 40 million? So I can declare him a Brahmin, even though his father and mother may not have been a Brahmin. In fact, it has nothing to do with birth. Vishwamitra was the Rishi of Rishis. His father and mother were Kshatriyas. Vedavyasa, who wrote your Mahabharata, his mother was a fisherwoman. Kalidasa was a hunter. The greatest poet we produced, Kalidasa, he was a poet, he was a hunter. And Valmiki wrote the Ramayana and he came from Dalit family. So where was it got birth? Brahmin supremacy. What about Ravan? Ravan was a Brahmin. His Karnanidhi did not know. This Dravida movement had raised Ravan to such heights that they even celebrated Ravan Leela and they used to have names called Ravana because he was against Brahmins. So I asked Karnanidhi one day, how is he, Ravan was against Brahmins? He said, no, because Rama was Aryan. I said, Aryans are not necessarily Brahmins. No, only Brahmins can be Aryans. Then I asked him, then how come he said, we Dravidians, we are Shudras. Then I asked how Rahul Dravid is a Brahmin then. He had no answer. Dravid was Adi Shankara had defined Dravid as South India. It's a sandhi of two words, Thra and Vid. Thra means three, Vid means coast. So, we are not being taught history properly. That's why I hope we can get a government, and the first thing we should do is kidnap Rajiv Malhotra, bring him and say, please write new history books for all our children so that they know exactly what. If he willingly goes, of course, there's no need to do that. So, therefore, I am saying to you that this is why we are the longest civilization in the world. And we have resisted all kinds of invasions. The Muslims went to Iran when it was 100% Zoroastrian. They took it over, within 15 years they became 100% Muslim. Babylon and Mesopotamia within 21 years became 100% Muslim. That's today's modern Iraq. Egypt in 17 years, 100% Muslim. Europe in 50 years became 100% Christian. Here we have 800 years of Muslim rule and 200 years of Christian rule, and you are still 80%. How can anybody say that we are all the time beaten by those who came from foreign countries? We, of course, our rules of warfare was not appropriate for these barbarians who came. One of the rules of warfare is that the battle will not start before sunrise, and it must terminate at sunset. And then you go back to your tent and go and have a sleep, and come back the next day. Another was that you will not fight in the fields, agricultural fields, you will not fight in the population centers. But in the open Maidan, like Kurukshetra, or when Ravan had to come out of his fort to challenge Rama. And the third thing is that if you, after losing the battle, you say, I'm sorry, everything is returned to you, and you are sent back with respect. So Muhammad Ghori came how many times? 16 times. 17th time he got collaboration from Chauhan, Prithviraj Chauhan's father-in-law, Jaichand, and he was able to win. So this kind of cultured way of fighting a war was responsible for why we could not immediately throw out the invading foreigner. But it got nothing to do. The country kept on fighting. If you see the last 800 years in a proper perspective, the Vijayanagara Empire, Shivaji, the Marathas, Rani Jhansi, there was Kattabomman in Tamil Nadu, Rani Chennamma in Karnataka, Rana Pratap in Rajasthan. Never gave up fighting. Only the technique of fighting was not suited for barbarians. Today also we have the same problem. You don't know what kind of threat you are facing today. People talk about secularism. Oh, who's there to teach Hindus secularism? When you are 100% Hindu, the Jews came, the Parsis came, we looked after them. In fact, the first resolution passed in Israel, when Israel was founded, the first parliament session, they passed a resolution, thank you India, you are the only country in the world where the Jews were not persecuted. When the British left India, they asked the Parsis, you see, we'll give you reservations like we have given to Anglo-Indians. They say, you don't worry, you go. We have been with Hindus, they never gave us trouble, they looked after us. Everywhere else we were butchered. Only place we are surviving is India. So, when you are 100% Hindu, you did not persecute. How can you now talk about persecuting when you are 80%? But we have got it because we don't know our history properly. People tell me we have always been corrupt. That's not true. 500 years ago, those who came from abroad wrote accounts of India. The Chinese came as far back as 1,000 years ago. More than 1,000 years. In fact, Fasian came in 480. What did he say? That India is so honest. Indians are so honest, they don't even lock their doors when they go out. They leave their doors open. So did Yuan Chuang say that. So did Vasco da Gama say that. So did Mark Twain say that. And suddenly now people, without thinking, we have always been corrupt. It's not true, it's a great civilization. So that's why I'm saying that you must now treat money, the acquisition of money, this material prosperity, as after harmonizing it with your spiritual values. If you have a lot of money, do philanthropy. But your social status should not depend on how much money you have made. That delinking takes place, then you've got a long-term cure for corruption, and India will become like it was 600, 700 years ago, is a country of very honest people. Short run, laws can tighten, prosecute them, make them an example. But long run, we must become, once again, we should imbibe the values of Hindutva. Hindutva only means Hinduness. There's nothing militant about it. Just the quality of being Hindu. And that is that you look at the world in a balanced way, that material growth and spiritual values will have to be harmonized, and you will not become greedy. You will only look for your need, and once the need is satisfied, you will do philanthropy. You will pursue as the ultimate, the highest goal, knowledge. Knowledge about yourself, knowledge about nature, knowledge about God. These are the values which constitute Hindutva, and therefore, if corruption is the cancer, Hindutva is the cure. This is what I wanted to say. Thank you very much. See, what you have said about quoting the Chapidar is very similar to what in the economic plane I used to hear as to why students became communists. You are assured of a job in communism, you are assured of a social security if you don't have a job, you are assured of control on prices. In fact, EMS Namboodiripad told me that people are attracted to Soviet Union and communism because there is no unemployment in Soviet Union, there is no inflation in Soviet Union, there is no poverty in Soviet Union. I told him in August 1991, now there is no Soviet Union also. See, when you compare democracy and dictatorship, unless you are a person who doesn't value your personal freedom, the dictatorship will always be attractive. You go like goats and animals to your feed in the morning, you're taken for grazing, then you've got a place to stay. Or these chicken in the hatchery that they sit before with their legs tied, and there's a conveyor belt in front of them which brings the feed, and there's a conveyor belt at the back of them which takes place the eggs. That kind of automated life, Hinduism was never meant to be. We don't believe that anybody should be forced to go to church or the equivalent, namely the temple. We don't believe that you should have to understand without even training yourself what is said in the prayers. If you have taken the trouble to learn, it can be done. Of course, I agree that there should be greater efforts to publicize what our religion actually teaches. That's why I've decided with a friend to start a new TV station in Tamil Nadu, and that is called Krishna TV, and you can see that. You can see that on krishnatv.net. You can see the website. We have come out of a horrible 1,000 years, and then after that we had a de facto Christian on our head, namely Jawaharlal Nehru, who didn't allow you to develop Sanskrit, who didn't allow you to have any concern for your culture. Anything and everything was called obscurantists and so on. Such a long period, because he himself was very pro-left and pro-Soviet. So now we have to do some of the things in order to make our religion easily understandable to the people. But the features of Hinduism, where you don't force a person to come, don't tell him how to behave. Hinduism only tells you if you behave in this way, this is what you will suffer. The law of karma will hit you here. Or if you behave in this way, you will get this reward. Hinduism doesn't ban anything. It doesn't say you cannot eat meat, but it says then you will eat tamas food, you will not be able to have a stable meditation. So that is the kind of religion we have. We cannot change the character of our religion, but we have to now make repair the damage that has been done to the last 1,000 years. We must now have new books. We must be able to educate our youth in a language they understand, and the peon also in the language they understand. I know many people, by the way, who became Christian, went and saw that there was no change in the discriminatory attitude once they became Christian. They returned back. In Tamil Nadu, in fact, on tsunami, many of these Christians who came with money bags were all thrown out and driven away. These are the unreported facts. And I don't know about Andhra, I'll have to wait till the census report comes. But you will not find any sharp increase in Christian population in Tamil Nadu. In fact, you will find not at all. You may find in Muslim population, but you will not find in Christian population. So we, within the perspective, accepting the spirit in which you said, and acknowledging that we need to teach our religion in a more mundane way, I would like to, however, say that there are limits to which we can imitate Christianity.
The West is now experimenting very successfully with yoga as therapy for addiction, toxicity, smoking, to get rid of smoking, alcoholism, the kind of problems that this fellow had that you're talking about, for which he went to the pastor. The latest treatment plans that are being offered in the US, in fact, are mostly Hindu-oriented. Vegetarianism as a way of life, all the Hindu lifestyles are therapy in the cognitive sciences and psychology. In fact, in 2008, my foundation did a world conference on spirituality and psychology in Delhi. And we had 500 delegates, 400 of them came from outside of India, because they were cognitive scientists and neuroscientists wanting to learn these Indian spiritual traditions, go back and teach. So the kind of solutions that the Christian church offered, better solutions are available in our own tradition. It is just that the temple is not a center of yoga and is not a center of meditation today. They become ritualistic. So the idea is we don't have to deviate, as Dr. Swamy said, to other people. We just have to revive our own tradition. Even in the United States, so many times I've given talks all over India, all over the US, saying, why isn't your temple able to compete and replace all the yoga centers in your town? Why not? And we don't have it. I've been saying this for so many years. Our Hindu temple, it should be the place where people come to learn yoga rather than going to other yoga centers. Because those yoga centers are actually profit-making enterprises. It's our tradition that it's sort of being taken away.
May I say, we are proud to say that our temple here, for the last 1.5 years, we have been conducting yoga classes and meditation classes. And there are 80% of the students who come are the local American people. Very good. So 20% of our people, but we have 100 students who come every Saturday. This morning, right here we had yoga class, and every Wednesday evening we have it, and we are very grateful and privileged to conduct those yoga classes.
Very good. We'll go another 10 minutes because we started 10 minutes late. So anybody who has questions, come, let's stay in line real quick. Okay, go ahead.
My question is for Dr. Subramanian.
Make it short. Don't.
Namaste, Dr. Swamy. I want to specifically ask you about electronic voting machines, because when I come to think of it, any big power, whether inside or outside India, be it CIA, KGB, China's army, or
there's no KGB now, it's FSI.
Okay. They will have vested interest in having a puppet government inside India, and electronic voting machine would be a very good means for them to install whosoever they want to install in the country. No first world country has electronic voting machine, and ours is a country that is crawling out of the third world, and we have electronic voting.
I'll show you a question.
Okay, so who do you think is behind this? I want you to name that. Will we have EVM in the next general election? That was my next question.
Well, I have filed a case in the Delhi High Court, in which I have established prima facie that in 2009, Congress party got 90 extra seats by electronic voting machine rigging. And the way I established it is that in 90 seats There may be more, but I counted only up to 90. In 90 seats, more than 1/3 of the polling booth had less than 2 votes, 210. These are the type of things that in all the 90 constituencies, I found out of the 1500 booths per parliamentary constituency, 1/3, which is about 500, had 0, 1 or 2 votes, which is impossible because every established political party has at least 5 people sitting inside the polling booth. And these 5 people have, their life depends on their candidate winning. So they plus their family would be about 25 votes would be guaranteed per polling booth. So, and that was always in the past, that is what used to happen. No polling booth, an established party would get less than 25 seats. That's why I did not contest in this election. Because I knew that Sonia Gandhi's first target would be me and the electronic voting machine would be rigged. 90 seats Congress party got extra. Otherwise they would have got only 105 seats. They ended up getting 195 and then a little more after the by-elections. So I went to the court and I said that I demand that, like the ATM machine, I should get a voter receipt. Who I voted for. The election commission said we can't do this, it's too expensive, all that. Then, as usual, I dug up a law which very few people had read, which was the Information Technology Act of 2000, which says, section 12 says, if any electronic machine has an input of data, then that electronic machine must also give a receipt. So that's on the basis of which the ATMs give you receipt. Now, ATM doesn't need to give you a receipt. You can see your bank account on the screen. You know how much it is. You know how much you're taking out. Yet it is giving because of this law. The election commission first said, no, these laws don't apply to election commission. I said, Ravish, the Supreme Court has given a judgment saying that election commission has freedom to decide only in areas where there is no existing law. Where there is an existing law, they have to obey it also. So finally the election commission has surrendered and they have to report to the court on 17th of August, and on that day I hope to get the court to declare that henceforth all electronic voting machines will get a voting receipt. And till that provision, that arrangement is made, we will go back to ballot papers. Now one more thing. The real thing in an electronic voting machine is a microcontroller. That microcontroller is produced by a Japanese company, not by Indian companies. And the code is burnt into it on a code given by the government, the election commission. So I contacted the Japanese company and asked them whether it's true that they produce the microcontroller. They said yes. I said, do you use the same microcontroller in your Japanese election? He said, no, in Japan we use ballot papers. We don't trust the electronic voting machine. So Japanese companies producing for India, when they don't themselves have any respect. The German Supreme Court, because Germany was using electronic voting machines, then somebody went and filed a case in the German Supreme Court. This is only about a year and a half ago. And the argument used by the German government was that this is an efficient way of counting and recording the vote. So German Supreme Court judgment said efficiency is not a constitutional principle, transparency is a constitutional principle, and therefore no more electronic voting machine. You see, at least in the ballot paper you see what is happening. Of course, some guldas can come and capture a polling booth, but there's all that rigging is at a retail level. But with electronic voting machine you can do rigging on a wholesale level by just having the microcontroller fixed, you see. And now Netherlands has followed suit, Ireland has followed suit, America is following suit. Because America is a federal structure, so it's, immediately they cannot do it nationally, but the process has started here. And there are hardly any countries I know. The government, the election commission in my court case claimed, oh, our electronic voting machine is in great demand abroad. I asked them where? Venezuela, Nigeria, and Malaysia, where they want to rig an election, so they get our electronic voting machine. So, as far as the electronic voting machine is concerned, next election I will contest because I am 100% certain that there will be no repeat of the electronic voting machine.
So is the Congress behind it or is it the outside powers that are rigging it? Or Sonia Gandhi?
You make a difference between outside powers and Sonia Gandhi?
She's inside India, that's all.
Oh, that's all right. The foreign powers are also inside India, I can tell you. Well, I think you see, there is no doubt that foreign powers would like a pliable government. But when the Indians themselves are rigging the elections to have a pliable government, why should the foreigners make any effort at all? You are doing their work anyway. You see, so at the moment I would say that Sonia Gandhi and 5 people, Europeans, 2 from the Vatican, 2 from Germany, and 1 from France, they are ones who are monitoring this rigging. They have employed 2 Telugu software engineers from California who were in jail for hacking bank records. And when they were released, immediately Sonia Gandhi had